welcome back to my channel Manga Hoarder. My name is Laura and today I am hauling manga. I'm going to show you a bunch of manga that I picked up recently at a local comic book store, as well as a couple of books that I picked up here at Chapters, which is a big bookstore here in the city or in Canada. So these are all going to be new releases apart from one which is new. It just is an old title that happened to still be in stock. So I'm going to start off with things that sort of continue in series and then show you some of the new stuff that I've been adding to my collection. So first off, I picked up volume 3 of Dragon Half. This is by Ryusuke Mita. This is the third and final volume in this series. It's a pretty big omnibus story about a half dragon hunter, and she is sort of on a quest to gain some ability where she is able to become fully human, so that she can be in a relationship with this haughty singer that she's in love with. I think that's the general plot. Obviously a crazy like slapstick humor. It reminded me, I've only read the first volume still, but it reminded me of reading The Jetsons, if that reminds you or makes you think of anything in particular. It has a really just corny comedy. There's quite a bit of fan service in it, but there's just something about this one that I just find incredibly quirky and charming and can't wait to read the rest. I have flipped through this a bit and I really enjoyed it. And actually I think this one in particular, I think this series in particular, they actually are printing quite a lot of color pages. Can I show some of these? So they're printing quite a lot of color pages, and they're printing them in a way that I really like. Like, I love when they print the color pages on the regular, same paper quality as the black and white. I don't like when there's a glossy page sort of in the middle. I think it really destroys the aesthetic of the book, even if the color seems nice. It just feels out of place. So I just really appreciate the color just sort of in the middle of these books. So this one is quite good for that. But it is quite fun, but you know, there is a bit of fan service in this, so if that's something that deters you from picking up a book, now you know. I picked up the next book that I needed from LaRue, Girl from the Other Side by Nagabe. This is a very cute series. It has a very kind of old world folktale feel to it. It has some really nice relationships in it. It is just a really nice, heartwarming title. And I'm looking forward to keep going in this one. I don't know how long this is, so hopefully... I feel like this is something that shouldn't be more than like maybe 10 volumes, so hopefully it won't overextend its stay. I picked up the next volume. Actually, not the next volume. It was a volume I was missing because I think I have 11 already. I think that's how it works. Of I Am a Hero. This is by Kengo Hanazawa. This is a zombie manga, zombie apocalypse manga. This is an unusual title because the main character isn't sort of your usual, typical hero. He struggles significantly with his mental health, including extreme case of like hallucinations. So at the point, at least I've still only read the first volume of this series, but at the point of the first volume, you know, he is having a hard time distinguishing between his like what is true and what is part of a hallucination. So that's a really interesting kind of piece to this puzzle. It was beautifully illustrated. It was a really interesting title so far. But this is volume 10, 11 is out, and I think there's maybe only 1 or 2 more volumes. It's supposed to be done at the end of this year. There are other spin-off series where this zombie apocalypse happens in other districts, so this one is happening in Tokyo. So I don't know whether or not Dark Horse is going to continue on with this series and pick up more, but this particular series will be done this year, probably. And that is when I'm going to read it. I picked up the next volume of Kino's Journey, The Beautiful World by Iruka Shiomiya. Original story, Keiichi Sigsawa. Original character design, Kohaku Kuroboshi. Here you go. I don't actually know what this is about still, because I haven't read the first volume. But I do believe it is about a character who is traveling around on their potentially sentient motorcycle, and experiencing the world. I'm not really sure. It kind of sounds like maybe is this apocalyptic? Because I might need that for September, which this is probably going to get posted in, so it's not going to help you anyway. Or it's not going to help me. At any rate, this looks like an interesting title. I've heard good things about the anime, not as much good things about the manga, but I'm still interested in it. Another title that's published by Vertical. And more Vertical, this one is My Boy by Hitomi Takano. This I've only read the first volume of. I really enjoyed that first volume. A story about a late 20s, I think, young office worker, and she makes friends with a young boy, an elementary school age boy, who is just playing soccer by himself in the park. And they just become really good close friends, and they really fill a gap in each other's lives where they really are in need of sort of like human comfort, I guess. I've heard good things about this and about the direction that it goes, so I'm not too worried about the potential of this turning into a romance anymore, but it was a really good, really heartfelt, really heartwarming first volume, so I'm looking forward to reading more of this. I picked up 2 volumes just to sort of fill in gaps of Drifters. This is by Kota Huron, so I got volume 3 as well as volume 5, and I have a couple of volumes. I'm not sure if I think I have 1/4, 1/6. I don't know. I don't even know if I have 1/2. Can I see it over here? No. I can't see it across the way, so I'm not really sure. This is the same creator as Hellsing, which I did really have fun reading. I did enjoy that. Somehow we have missed collecting the last couple volumes of Hellsing. I think we were told at one point that it had dropped, and then some volumes came out possibly when we had stopped buying manga almost entirely for those couple of years we were saving to buy this house. And so I think we just missed out on the last 2-3 volumes of Hellsing. So yeah, if anyone knows where I can get that for cheap, let me know, because we would like to find them. But at any rate, I don't know what this is about at all. I haven't heard anyone talking about it, but because Hellsing is quite fun, and because I've been able to pick these up for at least the other volumes that I already had, I picked up for really cheap, so I thought I'll just keep going with it. I think it's a very slow release, and I don't even know if it's done, so I know nothing at all about this title, so let me know your thoughts if you've read it or own it. That would be great. I picked up the next 2 volumes that I needed of After the Rain, so After the Rain Volume 3 by Jun Miyazuki, as well as Volume 4. This is another sort of age gap potential romance, but this is primarily about this young girl who works at a restaurant, I think. This is a restaurant, right? It's been a couple of months now since I've read it. And in the beginning, she is really fallen in love with this really dopey, kind of pathetic owner of the store, or the shop, or the restaurant, or whatever it is. And she is sort of trying to make advances on him. I think he, in some cases, in some instances, makes or kind of entertains the idea, despite the fact that he's a good 20 years older than her. And he entertains it, and I didn't like that so much, but I do really like this main character, and I think she's just got a really great personality. She seems fairly unaffected, but there is something else going on that's deeper than that in this story, so I am looking forward to keep going with this one. And then the last sort of continuation title is Volume 2 of Batmanga, the Batmanga, or Batman, the Jiro Kuwata Batmanga Volume 2 by Jiro Kuwata. This one was published by DC Comics. There's 3 volumes in this particular edition. The print quality isn't awesome, but I think it's just because it's reprinting a certain style of comic. Yeah, it's not the best quality print, but imagine that the original wasn't the best either. But I have been picking this up. And luckily, my comic book store did still have this in stock, which was great. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading this. I am not big on superhero comics, but I feel like this is probably a good entry for my type of reader, because I am a huge manga fan, to get into a little bit more superhero comics. I do read them from time to time. I certainly don't have the knowledge that some people have, and it's such an overwhelming just sort of genre of comics to get into superheroes. They're so vast, and there's so many different editions and so many reprints and so many new stories and offshoots, and I don't know what's canon, what's not canon, how do I get started, and it's overwhelming to start. So I feel like this is a good start for me, and I will look forward to reading this. Yeah. And I was, very happy to have this. I got this for a pretty good price too, because this is out of print now and was selling too expensive online for me to pick up. So that was good. And then next off is all the volume 1s. I picked up the Vertical Comics of Blam, the Electro Fisher's Escape. Art by Kotaro Sekine, direction Tsutomu Nihei, story by Toha Heavy Industries Cinematic Division, adapted from the animated film Blam. And I picked this up actually because I felt like it was obscure enough that it will get forgotten very quickly, and that if I did actually want to collect it, that I needed to pick it up now. I have this feeling that this is a thing that's just going to be like quickly on the market, quickly out of the market, and then completely gone from everyone's conscious memory. So I thought I needed to pick it up right now, even though I haven't been picking up Blam, those large editions. I do still have some of the Tokyo Pop. I do not have a complete series yet, and I have been tempted to pick up the big reprints that have been coming out from Vertical. There's Blam, there's also Knights of Sidonia have also been coming out like that. I'm tempted. If I had more finances, I definitely would be doing it right away, but we'll see. But anyway, that's basically why I picked it up, just because I have a feeling that if I miss this one in particular felt important for me to pick up for some reason. I can't explain it. So first up, I picked up Go With the Clouds North by Northwest. This is by Aki Irie, same author as Rat in the Grey World, which I have bought one volume of. I haven't continued on. I think there's a couple out now. And I think there's a second volume of this as well, so I really need to get on it because Vertical, they're sort of more important to collect faster than some of the other publishers because they go out of print faster. I don't know what this is about, and there's nothing really on the back except for some interesting illustration. But I thought the Rat in the Grey World was getting really good buzz, and the art in this is it's quite nice, as you can see. It's a really nice looking art. So I picked this one up at the comic book store just because I liked the way that it looked. Just sort of the illustration, some exploration. Looks like a bit of a drama, but the drawings in it are quite nice. So yeah, I'm looking forward to reading that. I picked up the first volume of Daytime Shooting Star. This is by Mika Yamamori, and it's published by Viz. This is about Suzume, who travels to Tokyo, I think. I believe she was living in the small town, travels to Tokyo to go to school, and then there's a potential teacher-student relationship that happens in this particular title. Yeah, so it's just sort of like a new shoujo manga that's come out. I do like this type of protagonist, though. She is kind of more of a mellow character. You know, she doesn't have a very strong personality. I really do like characters that are kind of more, I don't know, just relaxed. There's just something about them that appeals to me, maybe just because it suits my personality a little more. Next up, a horror manga. This is Versailles of the Dead by Kumiko Suekane. This is the same author as what is it? Something Charisma. After School Charisma. I knew it started with an A because it's at the beginning of the shelves in the other room. So After School Charisma, also the same author as Blood Adagio. or Blood Plus Adagio. I only learned that recently because I picked it up recently. It's something else, I can't remember. It is a horror manga about Marie Antoinette. She is on her way to get married to King Louis the 16th, and her carriage is attacked by something that appears to be like zombies. And everyone is killed except for Marie Antoinette ends up kind of surviving this situation and coming to the palace and becoming queen, and all of the horror things that happen afterwards, because with her sort of survival from this incident, many things horrific surround her. For various reasons. There is quite sort of interesting things going on. The horror in it is quite exciting. I think I can show you like the illustration. There's just something about illustrations like that that just I like. There's quite a bit of blood and stuff as well. This first volume I really enjoyed, actually enough to go out and get the second volume, which I got at Chapters, and I would show you, except for it's, I don't know, I think it's downstairs, and I'm too lazy to go get it. So I did get volume 2 as well. I picked it up shortly after reading this because this one was so much fun. I just really like the twist on the history. I like the characters. I like sort of some of the choices that were made in order to make the story work. In the second volume, I was very disappointed with it, and I just really disliked the storytelling, and I just liked there was some really harsh panel transitions that didn't work at all. So I'm going to keep buying it, but I'm really hoping that it'll like bring itself back up to how fun this first volume was, because it was quite enjoyable for a horror title, particularly if you're into horror and history. Kind of the mix of Marie Antoinette always seemed kind of like a horrific kind of character. Versailles just seems like a good setting for a horror title, so this seems quite fun. Hopefully it'll improve again. I did pick up Emon Volume 1, Memories of Emon, by Shinji Kajio and Kenji Tsuruta. I believe this is a variety of short stories about a character who exists, or a being that exists over a long period of time, and they are nameless. So Emon backwards, of course, means no name. I think that this is sort of a remake of someone's novel or a song or something. But I really enjoyed this. I thought it was quite good. This one focuses on the interactions between this girl here, who is the Emon character, and her meeting with a young man on a boat or on a cruise, and they kind of, or she tells his, maybe it's just sort of like on a ferry, but she tells her story to this guy, and he just sort of has a nice day with her. It was just the way that it was written, how beautifully it was illustrated. There were some really nice full panel spreads, like a couple in a row, which was really unusual. Just really beautiful illustration, really beautiful pacing. I really like this a lot. I think Volume 2 is out already, so I will definitely be picking up more. And I really like Tsuruta lately. I just really kind of fall in love with his comics. And the last thing that I got from the comic book store is Blank Canvas, My So-Called Artist Journey by Akiko Higashimura. Same author as Princess Jellyfish and Tokyo Tarareba Girls. I really like I really like Princess Jellyfish. I'm not a huge fan of Tokyo Tarareba Girls. I know it's really popular and it won an Eisner. I think it won an Eisner recently. I can't remember everything anymore. But I'm really interested in this one. You know, as a fan of comics, or manga in particular, it is particularly interesting to me to actually read stories about the creative process from the creator, you know, my history in comics, and how this creator got into comics and their feelings about comics and how comics are created. These are sort of like the gems in comic book writing. In particular, manga has so many of them. So I'm really, really looking forward to reading this and getting insight into her experience as a comics creator. So that one will be quite good. So that was everything that I got at the comic book store, so I did pretty well. I think I got some really good titles. And then recently I went to Chapters. I did pick up the second volume of Rose of Versailles the Dead. And then I picked up one other manga, so this is the last manga of this haul, and that is Magus of the Library by Mitsu Izumi. This is based on Kafna of the Wind by Sophie Schwim, translated by Hiroto Hamada. So I'm definitely going to have to look up Kafna of the Wind and see if I can track down, it sounds like it's probably a novel, and track that down, because as you know I like to read novels and comics in concession together in one, but this sounds like it's about a boy who adores books, but because of his status in life is not allowed to use the library. I think that's basically what it is. And then he gets involved in some sort of magic library. I think that's what this is. The art in it looks pretty good. There's quite a lot of text, as you can see. For a comic, it's very... Oh, wow, that's a beautiful spread. It actually has artwork really similar, reminds me, and maybe it's just sort of the location that's trying to portray, but the art really reminds me of A Bride Story, Kaoru Mori. Oh, like that's a really nice detailed illustration. So yeah, this one at least will be very pretty to look at, and hopefully it'll be a good story as well. And I'm a fan of libraries, so any manga that I find about libraries is, you know, yes, of course, I'll buy that one. And then lastly, I got two novels, and that happened to be We've Always Lived in the Castle by Shirley Jackson, and then The Lovecraft Compendium by H.P. Lovecraft, two sort of classic horror titles. They're pretty small, but they have such cute covers, and so I thought that would be why I would pick them up. This one mostly just because I've heard about it so much on BookTube. People read it all the time, particularly at Halloween. I've seen this one so many times over the last couple of years. I hadn't heard of it before I started watching BookTube. And then Lovecraft is because I have a Lovecraft manga. I haven't read any Lovecraft. I would really like to know it a little bit better, and particularly reading it with manga at the same time, because that's how I like to read, in particular, along with something else, so that I get sort of a bigger experience. So I'm looking forward to reading both. They're also just really short, classic books. So I don't have a lot of horror in my collection, but I just obviously was in the mood. Plus, like, the cute covers. So that's what I picked up. So that's everything I got in the last couple of weeks. Let me know if you've read any of these titles or you're collecting them as well. And we can talk about them down below. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.